Hi everybody, this is Diane. Today I am just going to do a flip through of two Alice in Wonderland journals. Each one has a different portion of the story included in it. They're both made with vintage little golden books, and they're both from the 50s. So they're pretty old, but the covers were in decent shape and they're just really fun. So I'm going to start with this one, which is the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Each journal will come with a coloring page. I had taken out flower coloring pages from a book that I recently got because they're just very Alice in Wonderland like. So there's just an extra page going into each book, each bundle that comes with your book, and then you get just some cut off pieces from scrapbook paper in little strips, some of the quote cards, a little cluster that I made, and some of these, oh, there's some more of the quote cards. Some of these cards, they're Alice cards, but they have the slots for doing a what is it called? A house of cards. And each card is, the cards in each pack are different. And that's another leftover digital. And then some origami paper butterflies that I thought were fun. I did use one or two of those butterflies in each journal too. So they're, oh, and a little colored stamped piece. They're the standard little golden book size, so it's about 8 inches tall and 7.5 inches wide or something like that. This one has a yo-yo. This one has brighter colors on it. It's a little more whimsical as far as the cover goes, so I used whimsical beads. I used little wooden ones and some mushrooms. So they're fun. And then this really pretty fabric that I thought matched the colors on this really nicely. And I just did a little collage on the back with some fabric pieces and this rabbit that was cut out of a children's book. I put corners, metal corners on the covers of both journals because both journals needed it. There's some rickrack here and a hitch fastener. I haven't used those in a while. These journals are pretty full. Now I have to say that I had shown a digital kit that I was using from Digital Fit, and then one of my viewers pointed out to me that Digital Fit normally does not allow the use of the digitals in items that are for sale. So I messaged the Digital Fit owner, the shop owner, and that was correct. So I had just sewn the journals together, so I had to go back, and I didn't want to take the journals apart, so I just carefully tore the pages out. I can't put them in a journal that I sell. I had printed things on the back just for journaling, so I was able to just take a couple of the pages. I will use these parts for journals that I sell. So fortunately, I kept adding pages, and I kept wondering, why are you adding so many papers to these journals? This is more than you normally add. Well, that was perfect because there are still 128 pages in each journal, front and back. So there is no digital pages. There are some digital pieces, tags and cards, but they're not from Digital Fit. So I added this from Mrs. Coggs, Time for a Good Book from the Library of. I added that on there. This one is a piece of vintage lace, like it's a fabric with this pleated piece on it that I just got at a flea market, and I washed it. And this beautiful little, like a napkin material coaster. And inside this, it's a loose pocket, so I had to add a paper clip on to hold these pieces in, but there is one of the cards and a canasta score sheet that opens up quite into a big size, and a bridge score sheet. So I just kind of put them near the top and put this large paper clip on to keep them from sliding out. I did use a few stamps, and I included all of the pages, and I think all of the pages are in the right order. And it's 1951, this one is. Here's one of the coloring pages. Now this is an antique piece. It came from a Victorian scrapbook, and it's in great condition. I just glued it down as a little tuck spot. There are some quotes from a digital. I'll have to link the digitals that I use because I don't know the names. There's these quotes and these little cards. The little cards and these cards were taken from the same, probably antique card game. They have the same images. So there's a couple of the cards, and then I had some playing cards that I use also. A Disney one, Alice in Wonderland, and then this little smiley face just for fun. I added some pom-poms to the edge there. Here's another coaster, and a quote, and a playing card, and a little photo. I used several vintage photos. There's quite a few vintage and antique pieces in these journals. There's a postage stamp that was a part of my mom's collection. Mad Hatter's Tea Party, which is what this book is about. I had some Alice fabrics that I made some flips out of, even using the salvage piece with they printed the suits of cards on the edge of the page. This, I glued this quote down before I sewed the flip down, and I didn't realize I was sewing over the top part of the quote. Alice, how long is forever? You can't read that part, but White Rabbit, sometimes just 1 second. There's a guest check there. And here is a beautiful image from a garden book with some bright colored flowers. There are flowers that feature in the story, as you can see in this book. So I used the garden book, which is it's vintage, but not very old. And it might have been from the 80s. And then I also had a 1960s Jackson & Perkins seed and plant catalog that I took images from for making pockets and cards. This is just a fun digital piece. And this tag someone made for me. I got it in a Happy Mail. And I think there was something glued here that came off, and I think this was part of it. Whatever was there. I don't even know what was there at one point, but I could see where there had been glue, and I think this little piece fell off while I was, sorting through my materials. So I just included it again and just added a couple other things, including orange flowers that matched that. I added some fun, mostly they're millinery flowers, but this was not a millinery flower, but I think it is a vintage fabric flower. And I had to take it apart. It had plastic pieces holding it together, which I removed, and then I put it back together with a brad. So that's quite fun. And I put the brad right through the page, and I covered that up with a cluster that I made. Here is a fold note with a heart-shaped paper clip. Here's a partial page. Some of these little half flippy pages are from the Golden Book pages where I fold the centerpiece, the fold piece, I fold it over just to make the page fit into the journal. So then I add something to the little flippy part that I folded. So you get bonus pages. That's a little digital there, a cluster, another card, and another digital here that doesn't have anything to do with Alice, but so this is kind of an eclectic book. I didn't have a ton of Alice images, but I just added a lot of fun things that I thought went well with the colors and the book. This is just a dyed paper and a blank yellow index card and this playing card, which I believe I must have gotten in a Happy Mail at some point. I had her and another card with the same color of background, and I just had the two cards. So I think they came in a Happy Mail, but not this year. This is a vintage gift tag with a little kitten on it. So cute. And of course, Alice has a little kitten named Dinah. Humpty Dumpty is in the second Lewis Carroll book, Alice Through the Looking Glass. So there's Humpty Dumpty out of a nursery rhyme book. There's a Disney postcard with the tea party table set up, and just a digital linen piece that you can journal on. I stamped that and colored it in. I made a little pocket here with one of the quotes and a guest check and another, and no, this isn't an antique card. This is a vintage greeting card. Very cute. And the pigeon's nest from that card game, the House of Cards. This is a stamp, and this is a stamp, and those are stamps. I used this card as a pocket. This is a little tuck spot. I mean, this was the card that had the name of the card game on that side. This is the back side of all of the cards. 1935 autograph book page, and While You Were Out card. And this is, I picked up just a few of these illustrated pages, and there were 2 of each and maybe 4 different designs at a flea market. What a great find. I thought these were wonderful little treasures. And there's a little cat there. And this is a Tim Holtz ephemera piece. That was all one signature. The second signature has a Jackson and Perkins catalog illustration on a glittery green vellum as the pocket, and this vintage lace. There's a vintage blank check, which is pretty cool, and another card. See, this is, they all have this picture on the back. This was so fun to fill up. Another vintage gift tag, a digital here, a large digital card that I got to, I've had this printed for probably quite a few years. It goes in, I'll put it in later, and another postcard and another game card. And this is a music score paper, and I stamped that crown onto some painted paper and cut that out. Here is another card. It's a trivia card with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and a couple more digitals, and a blue heart paper clip. There's another fabric flip. I added a little fabric pocket to this one. That's just a stack of teacups and teapots and little cakes. It's from Alice's, well, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Here's a millinery flower. Of course, this is vintage. Here's one of those origami paper butterflies. Doesn't that look like flowers that would be in a garden in Wonderland? Now, these are some pretty whimsical stamps. This arrow says direction, and up here, this stamp has an arrow pointing to the right, and it says this way, and you have to turn it upside down to see the other arrow saying that way. There's some stationery there, and I just clipped this little Tim Holtz ephemera piece there, so you can use that wherever you'd like. It's one of my mother's postage stamps on a top note shape tuck spot. Digital, and another antique piece. Fortunately, this was good on the back. It had been glued into a scrapbook, but you can't really tell. It's just looks old is all. And it's Niagara gloss starch. This one has a couple of digitals to write on. And this is from a cross-stitch book, and of course it's a basket of roses that have already been painted red. Remember the gardeners that were a deck of cards? They painted white roses and they were frantically painting them red because the queen wanted them red. Some beautiful blue flowers there. Here's an image from a nursery rhyme book or a poem book of a little girl, and all the adults are admiring her outfit. It could be Alice. Here is a page, I folded it up a little bit at the bottom, from an 1883 memoranda book. And this is a page from a Maurice Sendak book with a little girl and a rabbit, a white rabbit. So I used some of those pages in the book, in both journals. Here's one of the cards. This is the Duchess. This says Book of Me, and there's another one of those fun arrows. There's a dragonfly here, or a butterfly, one or the other. It's probably a butterfly. I don't know. It's funky, whatever it is. There's a pink index card. It's another heart-shaped paper clip, and this is an antique card advertising thread. This was a fun one. This is a Jackson and Perkins, so it's from the 1960s, red roses, and I just put it on some scrapbook paper, and I took a card, just a plain white card. This is one of my go-tos for making simple tags and cards that are really fun. I take one of my background stamps and stamp it, and then just glue on whatever images I want to add. So this one does have a few pieces added to it. There's a little line of music and this little girl, and it says, "I like to sing." So you know she's singing and not running and yelling for help, which it kind of looks like. She's singing. There's a puppy there and one of my stamped pieces. There's another stamped heart there, and just a fun border that I stamped onto watercolored paper. It's a sticker. In this pocket I have a recipe card with a little girl at a tea table with her stuffed dog and cat. It's really cute. And this is a card that came, I don't know where I got it, in a batch of papers from the flea market probably, but it's got some real dried flowers on it. You can feel them. And a stamp from my mom's collection. This was just from a piece of paper, the teacups. I made a border for it. And this is a vintage postcard. It's probably from the 70s, because I had two different postcards and one of them was used and it was postmarked from the 70s. And I think they look like they're from the same era. And I was thrilled with those Alice in Wonderland postcards, Disney postcards. Now this young lady was in a book about beauty, and I think she's from the 1930s, this book. And doesn't she look like Alice? So I made a pocket out of her. And here is another of the Maurice Sendak illustrations. Got some glue dried on the edge there. This is a definition for right. I had this little bottle from the Tim Holtz ephemera, and it could be the bottle that says "Drink Me." I just put it on as a little text spot and then added a little merchandise tag and a little card of a parlor palm with a little tiny envelope. This is another one of those little flippy pages. That's a digital, and that's one of my stamps. These little girl stamps came from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and I think I have 3 different sets of stamps, and each set has 1 or 2 of the little girls, and then whatever else the stamp set comes with. This definition was with one of them. And this was just a picture in a children's book. It's a girl with some pigs, and I put that in there because the Duchess's baby turns into a pig in the story. There's a tally card with the black and white. It's like the tiles on one of the floors, or maybe the chessboard. It reminded me of something in Alice in Wonderland. A couple more little digital cards and a playing card for Turned Turtle. I put that in there in honor of the mock turtle in the story. There's another cluster, little piece of a vintage doily. I added a little felt flower up here. And this is a digital that I made from some florist cards that I bought at an antique mall. So you can write on the back. And here's another photograph of a little girl with ringlets and a pretty white dress. Here's a fabric flip with some Alice in Wonderland fabric and this red and white heart. It would be so nice if something made sense for a change. I totally agree. I just put a little scrap of a ledger page there for journaling. This was just a scrap of paper that I had left over from something that looks very Alice in Wonderland-ish. The paper might have been themed Alice in Wonderland, the collection, but I don't know what that came from. I don't remember, but it makes a very nice text spot. Here is a greeting card. Oh, I already used a greeting card in here, so this greeting card goes with the other journal. Sorry about that. This is one of the things I had printed on the backs of these papers that I can't use. It was just a cute little girl with a teacup, and this was also the line paper I printed on the backs of those. So that gives you a nice journaling card there. There's another millinery flower. Another flower from the 1960s book. And these little paper dolls that I think I got in a Happy Mail at some point. The Mad Hatter and the rabbit, the white rabbit. And a stamped piece and I don't think that was a digital. I think I cut that out of something. Another fold a note, a blank index card, and this is a movie poster playing card, and it has Alice. Well, actually, this is the back of the card. They all have this, but I put it in here for Alice, so I'll put it that way. And there's the Queen of Hearts. Another postage stamp. This is a flippy page that I made a little bit bigger. And I put in a bridge score pad, score sheet. This is a label that I was thinking of using at the front, but then I found those that I had already printed some time ago. So I put that in there, and you can use it wherever you'd like. This is a nice ephemera piece from Anna Griffin. And this was cut from scrapbook paper. I love this piece. This is from the Jackson and Perkins 1960s catalog. And I love those white roses. This image is just so beautiful. And I put it on white cardstock. and I just think it's so pretty. Here's another page from the 1883 memoranda book. And this, just a leftover piece from a piece of cardstock, patterned cardstock. I stamped this little girl and this little label for her to sit on. And again, here's another arrow. It says round the bend. There's another one of the little girls and a little digital here. 10 packets of flower seeds. I just made this little collaged tuck spot with some pieces I had in my ephemera folders. This is a digital, and I cut this with my Cricut. And that's a Project Life card. I love the Harlequin pattern on it and that diamond pattern there. In this pocket, it's an envelope with the flowers printed on it, and I used the last stamp that I had on it. But I put some paper doll clothes in here that go with her. She's glued together, and paper doll clothes they need to be finished cutting out. I cut out a few pieces. The rest I just cut around them so I could put them in the bag. So there's some fussy cutting for you to do. And then I included another of these little cutout cards with my signature. I'll do that later. And here, this is a piece that went with the little girl with the teacups. That I printed on the backs of the papers. This one is Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Do this one a little faster. Same things come with it. This one looks a little dirtier on the front. It's not surface dirt. You know, I wiped it off, so that's as clean as it gets. And I just love the cover with her in the garden. So this is Alice in Wonderland Finds the Garden of Live Flowers. I put a millinery flower here and wrapped it around. And here I added some fabrics and a little felt flower. And these beads are a little more elegant because she's in the flower garden, and those flowers think they're very elegant even though they're very rude. But anyway, I used pink and cream and clear and blue beads. I had the same book plate there, and I just added the ephemera of the doily. It's a ephemera piece, not digital, and I use that in both books. So we have the same things. So I can do this more quickly, and I'll try to find a place to put this greeting card. This is an antique piece out of a scrapbook. Read the directions, and directly you will be directed in the right direction. Makes sense. This is a scrap from a embroidered doily. This little scrap of fabric and this little daisy piece there. I am working on putting together some fabric flips that I will sell separately. Sorry. And I have a digital, or not a digital, an Alice in Wonderland kit to put together for you. It's got the Stamperia paper pad, the entire paper pad, and that's a digital. This is antique and an old photo of a bed of pansies. It has the Stamperia paper, the remainder of these cards, and some fabric. And I don't remember if there's anything else, but I don't have them ready to go in the shop yet. I've got to go back through and erase the numbers. I did it in the other book. Here's some millinery flowers, a nice big one. I thought they were fun, just hanging off the edge of the paper of the book. There's the teacups. Fold a note. Here's another vintage photo. I thought this could be the hole that Alice fell through when she followed the rabbit. Didn't she follow him into a hole in a tree? And then she fell. And that could be Alice as an older lady returning to the spot and having her picture taken. Oops, that can't be in there. This is part of the digital set that I can't use. There's a tag there though. Here's that other card that I got in a Happy Mail. And another vintage gift tag. This is an upper tuck spot with just a poem about the kitten and the falling leaves. A scrap of scrapbook paper. Maybe I'll put this in here, because this is kind of small. It gets lost in there. So this is a greeting card, a little girl with a daffodil. And I believe I glued something, yeah, I glued a paper to the back of it because it was damaged from being glued into a scrapbook. I'll just tuck that right there. Another beautiful image of violas from the Jackson and Perkins book. A vintage florist hang tag. I think I didn't put one in the other journal, so I'm going to give this one to the other journal. An antique piece that has the corner broken off. Beautiful little card. The 1935 autograph book. And here's another one of those note papers with the kitten. That's a digital. This is a real vintage piece. I put some real vintage tape on there where it had been torn, glued it to some cardstock. It looks like it could be Alice, doesn't it? Another Jackson and Perkins image. And this is a card from a scrapbook paper pad. And here he is painting the roses red. Vintage gift tag. Why is that turned backwards? Oh, because that's there. It's not backwards. A fabric flip with the heart-shaped fabric on it. And here is just this beautiful, crumply millinery flower. It's vintage, and I could have tried to lay it flatter and glue it down, but I loved the crumpled up look to it. It's got some velvety petals and some like thin fabric petals. I love it. A red rose stationery piece. That needs something. I'll find something to stick in. Well, I'll put this in there. I took that out of the other piece. This is another antique piece, 1898. And a digital piece. I used this Maurice Sendak page as the center pocket piece. Digital from Mrs. Cogg's Crafts, and then this beautiful digital of a birthday card. I'm not going to put all the digitals, all these miscellaneous digitals that I used. I will put in the Alice digitals as a link in the description. with the little game cards and the quotes. This is from that cross-stitch book with the little blonde girl and her cat. There's another girl with her cat. It's the poem about the little girl with the curl in the middle of her forehead. By the way, these memoranda pages open up like, oh, this one's not attached. So there's either 2 pages or it opens up into a folio page. So you've got lots of room to write on that. This is for guitar chords, for writing guitar chord notations on there. Another vintage piece, antique piece. Beautiful. She's got some red roses there. There's a little bit of a tear here where it came out of a book, scrapbook. Some more white roses from the Jackson and Perkins book. They just look so stunning, those white. They're just so pure looking. And another card that I stamped with the background and a little girl. Looks like they're looking for someone, so she might be calling for someone, and the dog is looking too. And that's a digital piece, the word diary, and that is a stamped piece. So I pulled a lot of pieces from my ephemera folders and used them. Here's that blank check and a card and a postcard. Here's the other vintage postcard that was used in 1978. Jackson and Perkins, I think, maybe. Yeah, it is. And another Maurice Sendak illustration. I don't know. I think that one might be from the gardening book that's not as old. Another upper tuck with a Maurice Sendak illustration. Just a scrap from the collar of maybe a baby dress or something. There's a hole here where a button was removed, like probably just torn off, pulled off, and it left a hole. And there's another digital that I made with those florist cards that I bought. And here is a photograph of a lady and her daughter. And a fabric flip. I added some little crocheted flowers there, little pocket here. And this is another paper doll that came with the Mad Hatter and the Rabbit that the other book got. And this is an antique advertising card for Patrick Wall Shoe Store. Millinery flower. And this is a little old photograph of a little boy named Wendell playing his bugle, riding a tricycle. Thought it was so cute. And I had this one lone image from one of my Alice in Wonderland books that I used to have. Just had one image left over from another Alice project. So I glued him there. And here is the label that I was going to use at the front of the book, and you can use it wherever you like. This is just a little scrap that I had of a patchwork piece and a little scrap of mesh and ribbon from a petticoat. Jackson and Perkins book, and I added this vintage piece here. Another photograph of a little girl. And the paper doll. I used a different envelope here, and I glued the flap down so you could see the liner on it. So she doesn't fit in there very well. So I put her over here. This is a collaged tuck spot. And I put the same Project Life card in it. And her clothes are all cut out because I had cut them out some time ago. So they're in there, clothes and accessories, and then this card with my signature. And the Walrus and the Carpenter stamp there. These these journals were so fun to make, and I know I had said I was going to make them simple, just a quick little journal, and I did not keep them simple. But they're done now, and I love them. So these are in my shop when you see the video, I guess. I didn't say at the beginning, but I'm just going to put them in my shop right away. So as soon as you see the video, you can go buy them if you're interested, and then watch for the fabric flips and the bundle with the paper and fabric and stuff in the next day or so. Okay, thank you so much for all of your attention and your wonderful comments on my videos. I appreciate it so very much, and I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day. Bye.